Hi, my name's Chris. I'm 27. I come from an immigrant family. They're from Ecuador. Mom was a diplomat. Dad was a business owner. Testimony starts pretty young, actually, right around 4 years old. I was diagnosed with pneumonia before they actually ever had like a legitimate cure for it and everything. And I was given about like a 65% chance I was going to make it. About like 60-40 right there. It was an experimental process, and I ended up with lung damage from it. Ended up with asthma and a couple of things going on with me. Right around that same time, I started having nightmares, and I started sleepwalking, and I had this entity that would come into my dreams and pretty much slaughter my family and then say I was next. And that dream carried on from about like 5 years old till I was around like 12, 13. It would come out every now and then. Around that, in between that time, I would wake up. Like I said, I would sleepwalk, and then sometimes I would wake up with claw marks on my chest and like scratches and stuff like that. Around that time, my dad had just started a company, and everything was growing. Everything was going good. But of course, with that, Dad wasn't in the picture, never really had time. Mom was full-time student and working the company as well, so didn't really have my parental guidance I needed at a young age. My sisters raised me. Being raised by 3 older sisters definitely confuses you. As a growing man, you didn't have a father figure or anything to really show you anyone. And then from there, I grew up pretty much on my own. My sisters were all around the same age. They all wanted to do other things, and I was the annoying little brother. And from there, I never really felt like I was understood. I would always pray to God, but I never really went to church, never really tried to reach out in any way. Family was never really religious. They were baptized Catholic, but didn't really do much after. And after growing up into my early teens and everything, at 15 I was diagnosed with meningitis. I can't remember if it was bacterial or viral or not, but I had meningitis at 15, was in the hospital again, and there was one night I was asleep where apparently all these nurses and emergency personnel rushed in. I had a fever of 118, and my brain was boiling. I pulled out of that, and I was doing good. Right around that time, my sister had introduced me to a different church, and I started getting closer to God. And then she had gotten married to my brother-in-law, which was the first official father figure that I had in my life. He was in the military. He joined the Army, and he pretty much gave me the father figure I needed growing up through my teens, until he was stationed in Fort Drum, and then eventually got deployed to Afghanistan. When he was in Afghanistan was right around the same time I lost my grandfather to leukemia, to cancer. Right around 2011, I was a sophomore in high school. I was down in the dirt, and right around that time I didn't really have a support system. I didn't have anyone to go to. So I went to the streets. I went looking for peace, someone that understood me. Got into a lot of drugs. I can name a few. Coke, Molly, ecstasy, shrooms. Never did anything like meth or anything like that. Of course, smoked weed. And stayed in the streets, would run around with friends, go to parties. We ran up and down the East Coast without my parents knowing. I was very rebellious as a child, didn't have any guidance, didn't really know where I was going in life. And that carried on into my early 20s, where I met my ex-wife. I had met her, she was in high school and I was a year out. I had already graduated. We had met in ROTC at a what was it? It was like a drill meet. We had met there. And from there, we kicked it off. We were together for about 6 years. And then we got married, and then marriage lasted about a year and a half. And then from there came a lot of depression. I was depressed throughout all of it, never really had anyone. But the depression had gotten worse after the separation and then the divorce. I had attempted multiple times to take my own life. I had tried to let go of the steering wheel behind the car. The car spun out and just parked. Didn't hit anything, didn't hit anyone. I've been in multiple car accidents where I should have died. I had a pole go through my car, completely uninjured. I've been hit by a drunk driver twice, completely uninjured. There was one time I literally flipped my car and drove away from the accident. The car was perfectly fine. It flipped right over, no damage. And a month later, I saw there was a cross at that same spot. And I think the most recent one was back in, I think it's 2021. I had just gotten my first gun. And that's where my depression had gotten the best of me the worst. And there was one night where I planned to end it all. I grabbed the gun, put bullets in it, and I put the barrel of the gun in my mouth and I pulled the trigger. And to my surprise, I have shot that gun over 1,000 times, and this is the first time it chooses to jam. And the only time it's ever jammed. And then I knew there was someone watching over me, but I still never reached out, still never answered a calling or anything. Until last year, 2022, I had met this girl, and I can't say I was in love or anything. It was just this girl. We had similar things going on. Best of a bad situation, we became friends and then something more, and there was a child conceived. And she decided to abort it. And it was me losing that child that brought me to God. It was the guilt of not being able to be a father. And that was the last straw that brought me here. I came to repent for my sins. Because my whole life, I didn't want to be like my dad. I wanted to be a father that could be their first child. So when I lost my child, I broke down. The suicidal thoughts came back, everything came rushing, and instead of grabbing the gun again and trying to pull the trigger, I had a friend. His name is Alex Nieves. He would reach out to me every couple weeks, text me, pretty much say, "Where's your head at? How you doing? What's going through your mind? Shoot some ideas to me. What are some of your goals?" And then eventually he tricked me into doing a side gig here at the church. And as I walked in the door, he was like, "Come, join us for service first, and then we can come take care of this." So I came in, joined for service, and that was when Papa had preached for me. And literally, he hit every single point, every single dot in my life. Hit everything. Like, he knew everything from the attempted suicide, the infidelities, the adultery. I'm not a saint. But he also brought out the homosexuality and everything else. And then I renounced it all. I let it all go. I understood that a lot of the issues I've been having haven't been my own to take control over, and that I need to relinquish that control that I've been needing, that I've been wanting to have. And that's what brought me here. And to this day, the depression is gone. I don't have those thoughts anymore. I suffered from something in my early 20s. It's called DID. It's Dissociative Identity Disorder, where an alter can come and create itself in your mind and pretty much take over your body at that point. Like, they take over to save you from traumatic experiences and everything like that usually, but mine were taking over my life to destroy it. And that's where the adultery and the infidelity came in. They weren't actions of my own. I would wake up the next morning with memories of things I did that I don't remember doing. And that was something I suffered for years until I came to the ministry. And since here, I haven't had an altar switch. I haven't even had the voices of my altars in my head. They've all disappeared. And there's actually peace and tranquility in my head now. The only voices I usually hear now are either some of my own thoughts or God. I haven't been able to hear his voice for so long. And it's helped bring clarity to my life. It's got me off the drugs. I haven't done anything for over a year. I haven't attempted suicide. I still have my gun. It's still there, close by. Don't even have an urge. Not even an itch. Now when I drive, it's just to work and home.
Can you tell me why you chose CCR now?
It was the first ministry where I actually felt wanted. I felt like this was a family, it was a home. It made me feel like I wasn't just another number, I wasn't another statistic walking into the door. They asked me how I was doing, they asked me what they could do for me and where they could help me out. And there have been plenty of people who have guided me since coming to the ministry. They've helped me out with anxiety, depression, and definitely having ADHD, it definitely helps calm down all those tendencies.
Now I want you to give an invitation.
If you're going through anything, if there's anything you're suffering from, whether it be internal, mentally, or something outside, something out of your control, you can release it to him. You can give it to him. He's here waiting. His presence is here. It's strong. It's very powerful. And I would like to invite you from one broken soul to another. You can be put back together here.